Native listened to the different conversations that you had tonight. I will not be as funny as Alex, but hopefully I'll be equally as entertaining in a totally different way. So, Mendix is, apart from having an awesome name, is a rapid application development platform. And what that basically means is we abstract the process of coding into a visual medium. So it starts with being able to just quickly drag and drop reusable components onto a canvas to actually build mobile applications. So this is just a quick GIF of me dragging and dropping a Google map, and you'll see on the right-hand side a bunch of properties that I can fill out, that I can also tie to a back-end system that's built through an entity and attribute model, almost like an object relational model. So you have this visual intuitive platform for building front ends, and then when it comes to logic, right, a lot of the conversations that we have with customers who are moving or thinking of moving from traditional development to rapid application development, or what we call low-code development, ask the question, okay, well, how do I get developers to think about this? And one of the challenges that we see our customers have is that they're trying to get the business more involved in the development process, whether that's getting them beyond just providing requirements and making them active contributors to development, or making it so that developers are spending more time with the business, getting more understanding of what the strategy or what the real outcomes of an application are meant to be. And so one of the things that we find that helps with our platform is, in traditional coding, you write functions. You all know what a function looks like. But you've probably also had the experience where you've had to go talk to a customer and explain to them, well, this is what the function does, and maybe you're doing a code review with them and they don't quite understand it, so that you start drawing it on a board, right? And you're like, so if basically the name is equal to Jeff, it's going to say hello, otherwise it's going to say, I don't know who you are. And with Mendix, when we look at the logic layer, we're actually skipping that part where you actually code it or draw it, but we're getting right to the point of making it visual, where you just drag and drop and build the process flows, almost like business process modeling notation, to actually build out your function structure. And what this does is it helps customers understand why you're making the decisions that you're making as a developer when you're building functions, and it just provides a common language for everyone to easily understand. Another aspect of the platform is the reusability and the ease with which you can bring in new components. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But if you just look up on the screen, there are a number of different things that you can actually just download into a project, almost like you do when you're using NPM in the projects that you're using building React Native apps. You can download different modules, but then they become objects that you can just drag and drop into that front-end interface that I showed you, or for the logic layer, bringing those in, and then just filling out properties that connect you to the different services or the different capabilities that these bring to bear. So before I go any further, how many of you have actually heard of low-code application development before tonight? Okay, cool. Fair bit. Have any of you ever used a low-code development platform before? No. Okay. You have. What platform have you used?
Prototyping with Plasonic, not full-on.
Okay, so like a prototyping tool. And a lot of customers and people look at our platform and they consider it a great platform for prototyping, and it definitely is, especially if you are working in the business, building out front ends, taking a look at how you actually want to model what you want your applications to look like. It's really good for that. But it also gives you the ability to actually build full on enterprise applications. We have customers in insurance and in manufacturing and logistics who are re-architecting their entire application landscapes using our platform, using visual coding or visual programming to actually build out microservices, landscapes, and now building offline first mobile applications with our platform. And because of that reusability in the repository we have of reusable components, they're able to take advantage of new technologies with drag and drop ease. So they're able to not only upgrade their systems from old legacy systems, they're able to bring in things like RPA and different bots to change the way that people experience and customers experience working with them all at the same time. And the other thing is that in terms of what low-code brings for developers, right? I've been listening a little bit about some of the challenges you were talking about just a couple of minutes ago with setting up your build systems, and what are some of the gotchas that you have when you're like building up your environments. When you're thinking about a platform as a service like Mendix, a lot of, and if not almost all of that capability is actually abstracted away and taken care of for you, so that you get things like one-click deployment to the cloud. You have remote debugging and complete traceability just built into the platform. You have real-time error checking, so before you even actually deploy, it's telling you what's wrong, so that you have to fix it before you can go ahead and click that button. You can bring it into an automated containerization and DevOps process, so that you get that one-click deployment without actually touching anything except creating an app. And the real goal at the end of the day is not to just help professional developers move faster, being able to take advantage of all this plumbing that's already built for you, that's already set up for you, and to be able to take advantage of those reusable components, but to really make everyone in organizations a maker. That's the sales slide. I gotta nail that one. How many of you are familiar with MobX? Okay, so a couple of you. So MobX, from what I understand, it's at least maintained, but I believe it was originally built by this gentleman. His name's Michel Westrada. He worked for Mendix for about 10 years. He actually just left this spring. He's gone full-time into maintaining MobX. And Mendix is actually one of the sponsors of MobX, and we actually use it within our platform. He's been instrumental in a lot of the work that has been put into building mobile applications through our platform, as well as offline first mobile applications, dealing with things like state and that sort of thing, like MobX does, because our platform, being cloud native, is actually a stateless runtime. So we have to come up with different ways to actually handle those types of things being fully stateless. So why am I up here talking to you? One of the things that we've just actually announced and released in beta a couple of weeks ago is the ability to actually build React Native applications using our low-code platform. So using that visual capabilities, visual programming, you can actually drag and drop and start to build React Native apps. And you all know all the fancy names and brands that are actually supporting React Native and making it as popular as it is as a framework. And that's one of the reasons why we chose that framework to be the basis of building native mobile applications through our platform. Right, so some of the things that we were thinking about in terms of trying to make this easier is making it so that you can just set up design properties when you're building React Native components and bringing them right into our editing environment, so that you can make it easy for developers to just pick how they want to do things, and I'll show you that in a second. We also have this concept of nanoflows, which are basically client actions. So when you deploy a Mendix application on a mobile device, we have a runtime, and that runtime we've been able to put on a mobile device. It's running React Native applications, and these nanoflow actions represent interactions with the actual devices themselves. So being able to do things like navigation, send a text message, activate the camera. These were all things that when we were building hybrid mobile apps, we were using Cordova and PhoneGap to do, and the experience is okay, but it's not great. It's not React Native, right? It's not what we all love. So let me just pause there for a second and bring you into our development environment, which kind of looks like Visual Studio 2008, but don't let that scare you, because it's actually really cool. So Mendix basically looks like and feels a lot like Visual Studio 2008, but what it is it gives you the ability to go ahead and build these native mobile applications through drag and drop. So here I have basically an application that's essentially an Airbnb inspection app. So I'm going to go ahead and just run it. And this is going to build our package. And then I just need to put down the mic for a second. And what it's doing right now is it's essentially building out for us the package, and it's going to start compiling the native pages and exporting them so that we can view our native mobile application. So we'll go through this, it will go through a compilation step, and then it will tell us when it's ready to view. And effectively, we're running it locally, which is nice because we can actually work offline and do this kind of testing. But if we wanted to, we could switch this to run, and it would deploy it to the Mendix cloud. So Mendix is a platform as a service, and what that gives you is a fully cloud-native environment for you to actually deploy apps. And when you sign up for our platform, which is free, you can download our modeler, which only runs in Windows, so I hope most of you who use Macs have Parallels. Working on a Mac modeler someday, I think. You can download this modeler and start building applications, and you can deploy as many applications to our free tier as you want, and you can play with the different capabilities as you want, and you can have as many users actually connect to those. So now what I'll do is I'm going to click on View and View an Mendix app, and normally I would be able to scan that QR code and connect, but right now I need to put this down.
Just need to check my Wi-Fi. Okay, I need to get on different Wi-Fi. Just gonna run this a little time. We also have hot reloading, as you can see. And so now, make sure I'm here.
Oh, that's connected to the QR codes.
Okay. And now I'm going to bear with me 1 second. Launch. Back here. Cool. All right, so here's my Airbnb inspection app that's been compiled and is a native mobile application. And basically, I can scroll down and really, how many of you have built hybrid mobile apps in the past, right? Some of the challenges with hybrid mobile apps is when you scroll into another sheet, and then you scroll back, right, it would pop back up to the top of the page. Some challenges like that. We've always experienced that with the hybrid mobile pages that we've built. But now we get really smooth scrolling, and we get a really nice user experience. Very, very much like what we're used to with React Native mobile applications. In addition to that, I can go ahead and I can start an inspection, and that will bring me into different pages, and I can create a new issue, and I can take a picture, and that will bring the phone right up, and I can look at this, take that picture, and that will add that directly to my issues here. The other thing is I can add JavaScript if I want to. So, and I can add different capabilities that are native to the phone if I want to. So when it comes to JavaScript, I have the actual ability to create what are called JavaScript actions. And these JavaScript actions are essentially code snippets. Right? Where I can actually add code, and that code will then get compiled into the model as part of the application. Well, let's say I want to make a quick change to the title in my home page, right? So for the name of the property, I want to change that appearance so that I can go ahead and say, you know what, I really like the size of that text to be large. I can make that change, and I can run it locally, and that will actually update my device. That will refresh on the fly. And now if I go back to the home page, you can see right away, I see that change in that text has actually become large. So one of the things that we can do when you build React Native components, we're going to be able to take React Native components that actually exist out in the wild and just add them into Mendix as pluggable widgets. And you'll be able to build all of those custom properties for appearance so that you make it easier for other developers that use those widgets to go ahead and make those changes. Question?
Is there any sort of live reload or non-reload for when you change something and you will load it faster on the app?
That wasn't fast enough for you? So there is some capability, and I don't know, it's clearly not live right now in this version of the beta, but one of the things that you're able to do in this editing mode when this goes into production is there's actually this structure mode, which is like a wireframe, but then there's also a what you see is what you get editing mode, where you can actually do page editing in here much the same way that I showed you in that GIF earlier. And presumably you make those changes in appearance here, and you'd be able to just flip over and actually see it without even having to deploy the application. But let's make one more change, and then I'll take questions. Let's say I want to send a text message to the boss if there's an issue, right? I can go ahead and very quickly add a call NanoFlow button, and I've created, well, I guess I need to hold this and talk. I've created this microflow called act send text, and I don't know what's going on with the noise. Let me just do that. That'll help things. So I can go ahead and add this send text. It's going to call this NanoFlow, which is the send text NanoFlow. And if I go ahead and take a look at that, you can see I just have an action that is over here on my right-hand side in the widgets that I just drag and drop on this NanoFlow. Green means start, red means end. And inside my text message, I basically said, okay, I want to dial my own phone. So I've made that change. I'm going to save and continue, and again, this is going to hot reload. And you'll see this flashes white right now. And I'll reload the app. And let's go ahead and go and start my inspection. And if I see right now, I have that new button that says send text. So I can click that send text button, and it'll bring me right to the text machine, and I can say, boss, we got problems here. I could have it sent to another phone, but it just makes it easy to do it right here for examples. But you can see how quickly you can actually move and make changes and impact how you work with your native application and how it interacts with the phone. So that is pretty much the nickel tour. Any questions?
How did you get the App Store to approve an app that uses QR codes to reveal the content?
I think that's why the QR codes in this current app doesn't work, but our normal Mendix app, Mendix developer app, does use QR codes for you to you can scan it, and what it does is it opens up your app in that application. I don't know if that answers your question.
I was wondering what, this has been a big point of controversy in the React Native community.
Okay.
There's a very popular app called Expo that's had a lot of trouble on the iOS side because it was originally using a technique that looks like this, right? Where they would show a QR code on your screen on like your Mac, PC,
Yeah.
you can point your phone at it using the Expo app and it'll load it straight in, which is, as I understand it, the users, the dev X you're talking about here.
Yep.
What was it that, or do you have any insight on what you did different that allowed that to get through the App Store that we might be able to use to understand how we might be able to build better mutable apps going forward?
So I do not know the answer to that, but I know someone who might, and I'm more than happy to reach out to them, and I'll get your contact information, Ray. And,
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thanks so
I'll
much.
get back to you. Yeah. Because it's something that we've had in our platform like for a really long time. Our competitor has the same capability where in their mobile application you can snap a QR code and it will launch the app that references it.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
I wonder too if it has anything to do with the fact there's a little message on there that said, you know, must be on the same network, and I wonder if that kind of plays into it too. So you're not like loading potentially insecure things from somewhere on the internet. But
Well,
it's just,
I can actually
I don't know.
I can deploy it to the cloud.
Run it locally on Expo.
Yeah. I can
Run it
actually.
on Expo.
Fair enough. If I could talk to whoever your person
For
is,
sure.
I would love to understand this problem better.
Sure. Let me see
Thank
what
you.
I can do. Appreciate it. Yeah. 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 Go ahead.
Were you saying that you could actually pull in other projects like the Bluetooth one earlier? And like, if so, like, how do you handle like the linking and setup of those projects?
Yep, so great question. So we have different SDKs and APIs that you use in order to make those connections. So typically for backend, we're Java on the backend. So what you can do is you can essentially import any Java library using Eclipse. I think you can extend the model using what we call Java actions. Basically, through those Java actions, you import your Java libraries there, and then that gets compiled and turned into part of the native model. And because it's wrapped with and encapsulated with all of the Mendix stuff, if you will, then it's something that we can put on the App Store, our repository, and then other people can pull through it and will just work because it's bringing those libraries along for the ride. The same thing will be the case for the JavaScript actions, which is very new for us. We just released those a couple of weeks ago. So the same sort of situation exists. But you know, in terms of the Bluetooth piece, it's interesting. I ran a hackathon a few weeks ago. We had our user conference in Rotterdam, and our company is actually a subsidiary of Siemens, and they came and they had a technical challenge, and they had this Bluetooth device, it was a Bluetooth classic device that was that can measure the paint the weight of paint on cars and stuff like that to see whether or not it's consistent across the vehicle. The challenge they were having was they had Bluetooth in it, but they couldn't get the data out of it. They couldn't get a phone to connect to it. And so what was happening is they were literally reading off the screen on the device and typing it into a computer. This is a problem they've had for a really, really long time. So they had a challenge, and one of the partners that was in the hackathon actually built, I think they did it for JavaScript Action, built a Bluetooth connector so that they could connect to that device. They only made it work on Android, but they were able to essentially use JavaScript to connect with the device to that paint measuring system and now that's available to anyone. They posted that up on our repository so anyone can use that.
Film thickness, that's right.
Film thickness, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I noticed in your code you were using require. Can you use ES6 for your JavaScript code?
Great question. I don't know. And this is the first time I've ever done React Native today. So I actually don't know, but certainly can find out. I think that if it's not possible, it will probably be possible at some point.
Is your Airbnb inspection app released, or is it still in development?
So it's basically just a proof of concept that one of our members of our expert services team built. It's quite possible that we'll release it to the App Store as something that people can play with, but we do have a native mobile quick start app that's out on our platform, so that when you sign up and you go to create app, you'll see there's a native mobile starter app, and you can click on that, and that will actually open up in the desktop, what we call a desktop modeler, or Studio Pro. It will open up in Studio Pro, and it will have a bunch of additional libraries already added to it that will give you the additional functionality, like the JavaScript actions that are already part of this app, as well as some of the native mode of notifications. So it would just be a question of you going through and actually building your own pages and screens. And then for styling, you can use CSS and Sass to actually style the application.
Okay. When you talk about cloud native,
Yep.
does that mean that data in the cloud is on your servers, or can it live up on Amazon?
It can live up on Amazon. So the way that our platform and our apps are architected, when you package them, you can package them either using Cloud Foundry, which is what our public cloud uses, or you can package them using Docker and Kubernetes. So you can actually deploy, you essentially can build it into, we have our own CI/CD and DevOps built into our platform, but you can use our APIs to actually wire it into your own DevOps processes. And so you can use a Cloud Foundry build pack or a Docker and Kubernetes build pack that we have out on GitHub to package the applications and then deploy to the cloud of your choice.